Right. So another main goal of science is using our understanding to make predictions, right? So we're going to say science, use your understanding to predict something. And of course, the overall goal is that something that you predict will be useful, make something new, do something new. But for now, we'll just keep it simple. So let's go ahead, use what we learned last time and see if we can make some predictions. So what we're going to talk about here is compressibility. So we're going to take a container of something. We're going to put a piston in here. And right, our container is filled with something. And then we're going to compress it, right? We're going to push that piston down. And we're going to see what happens. So in this case, what we're going to say that happens is that the compound uses up less room, right? As we press it, now it uses up less room. So the question here is, will this occur to solids, liquids, and/or gases, right? Which one of these three phases or how many of these phases will be compressible, right? So what we want to think about is what's going on here. We're going from more volume to less volume. So again, we know that everything is made up out of little molecules. Let's go ahead and just draw our piston again, right? We're going from a big area to a small area. Well, if we're thinking about what's going on here is over here, we must have some kind of spare room, some empty space that we can then get rid of and make these molecules come much closer together, right? So in order to compress something, we need space between the molecules. And if we need space between the molecules, if you think about a solid and liquid, what we said about solids and liquids is that they're in constant contact with one another. And so there's essentially no space in between them, or at least very little space between them. And so we would predict that solids and liquids are non-compressible, which is true. If you try to compress a solid or liquid, it's not really going to happen unless you go to the very extreme ends. However, a gas, we learned that there's a whole bunch of space between these atoms or molecules that are flying around. So there's got plenty of space there. And we can then basically just squish the space, make these atoms get closer together. So a gas should become compressible. So that would kind of be our hypothesis there. And then if we did experiments, we would see indeed that gases are compressible and solids and liquids are not compressible, right? So that's the point of science. It's not just to make these statements, it's to be able to make predictions, which then prove to be useful. So in this case, this is a piston. Most cars have pistons in them. And so in most cars, you create some kind of gas before you blow it up. Last thing I say here is it's okay to be wrong. Right? Maybe you didn't make this prediction above. That's totally wrong. That's totally fine. Anytime that you're wrong, it's an opportunity to refine your understanding / model of the universe, right? So anytime you're wrong, don't look at it as though you're wrong. Look at it as an opportunity to expand your understanding.